Lena rubbed her temples and tiptoed into the dimly lit kitchen, careful not to wake Sammy. Her little boy had been restless all night, coughing and whimpering in his crib, and she had spent hours rocking him, checking his temperature, and whispering soft reassurances she barely believed herself. Her dark circles ran deep, a testament to nights spent in the dual role of mother and nurse, her body aching with fatigue she couldn't shake. Coffee in hand, she leaned against the counter, listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator. The apartment was bathed in the soft glow of early morning light, casting long shadows across the worn carpet. Every tick of the clock seemed louder than it should, amplifying the anxiety in her chest. Sammy's tiny chest rose and fell in shallow, uneven breaths, and Lena's heart ached with helplessness. She was a single mother in her late 20s, juggling a full-time job at a mid-sized tech company and the relentless demands of raising her son alone. Every day was a balancing act. Morning bottles, emails, calls, and then the never-ending nighttime routine of comfort and care. Lately, her body felt like it belonged to someone else, tense, tired, perpetually on edge. Today was especially difficult. Sammy had woken up burning with fever, his small body hot to the touch. Lena had called the pediatrician first thing, waited through what felt like endless hold music, and finally received the prescription she needed to ease the suffering. She checked her watch, 7:03 a.m., already exhausted beyond reason. She felt as if she'd been awake for days. She carefully sat at the kitchen table, laptop open, prescription in hand, and tried to steady her trembling fingers. The pharmacy needed the prescription sent electronically, and she was determined not to make any mistakes. But as she typed in the email address, her eyelids drooped from sheer exhaustion. The caffeine in her coffee was still doing battle with the fog in her mind. She knew she should double-check, but her brain felt like thick clouds, heavy and sluggish. Her thoughts drifted to work. She had deadlines looming, important meetings scheduled, clients expecting results. Missing work wasn't an option, not if she wanted to keep her job and provide for Sammy. And yet, here she was, a mother trapped between two worlds, each demanding more than she could give. The pressure pressed down on her like an invisible weight, making her chest tight and her hands shake. Sammy stirred in his crib, a soft whimper escaping him. Lena's heart clenched. She wanted to be everywhere at once. In his room, at her desk, running errands, making phone calls, keeping her life afloat. But most of all, she wanted to make sure her baby was safe and cared for. She took a deep, shaky breath, trying to calm her mind. The apartment smelled faintly of baby powder and warm milk, mingling with the lingering scent of last night's burnt coffee. These small details grounded her for a brief moment, reminding her that despite the chaos, she was here, present, and doing her best. Finally, Lena typed a quick email to the pharmacy, attached the scanned prescription, and hit send, or so she thought. Her body sagged in the chair, letting herself breathe for the first time in hours. She had done her best. That should have been enough. And then it hit her. A cold wave of panic washed over her. Something didn't feel right. Her stomach twisted as she realized her mistake. The email had not gone to the pharmacy. It had gone to someone else. Her pulse quickened as she stared at the screen. The recipient's name stared back at her, Mr. Grant. Her heart skipped a beat. Mr. Grant, the CEO of her company, the man she had feared in board meetings, the man whose approval she had always sought, had just received a deeply personal message meant for a pharmacy. Her cheeks flushed with embarrassment, and her mind raced. How could I be so careless? Fear and shame swirled together in a tight knot in her chest. She imagined his stern face, the judgmental look she feared every day at work. Surely he would think her unprofessional, irresponsible, maybe even incompetent. She opened her mouth to type a frantic apology, but the words froze on her lips. What could she possibly say? Meanwhile, Sammy stirred again, whining softly. Lena's worry for him surged above all else. No matter the email, no matter potential embarrassment, her priority was her baby. She closed her eyes for a moment, took a deep breath, and whispered, "Please, just help him be okay." Little did she know, this tiny slip of sleep-deprived fingers was about to change everything. A simple act of mistake would soon lead to an unexpected kindness that would restore her hope and touch her heart in ways she could never have imagined. Lena's hands shook as she stared at the sent message. She had meant to email the pharmacy to ensure Sammy got the prescription without delay. But now the horrifying truth hit her like a punch to the chest. The email had gone to Mr. Grant, her boss, the CEO she had never seen outside the polished walls of the office. Panic gripped her. Oh no, what have I done? Her mind raced through every scenario. Would he think she was incompetent? Careless? Unprofessional? She imagined him in his sleek office, reviewing her email with a frown, silently judging her as incapable. Every memory of tense meetings and his critical gaze came flooding back, making her chest tighten. Lena swallowed hard, feeling her throat constrict. She wanted to apologize immediately, to explain, but fear rooted her to the spot. What could I possibly say? Sorry, I sent my baby's prescription to you by mistake. The word sounded absurd even in her own head. Her pride and embarrassment battled with the gnawing worry for her child. Sammy stirred again, letting out a small whine. Lena clutched him close, rocking him gently. His tiny hands curled around hers, and her heart ached with love and worry. She couldn't control what happened with the email, but she could protect him. Her gaze drifted to the laptop, the glowing screen reflecting in her tired eyes. She felt trapped between the responsibilities of her work life and her life as a mother, both of which demanded more than she felt capable of giving. Her phone buzzed. Startled, she nearly dropped it. It was a message from an unknown number. No, it wasn't unknown. Her pulse quickened as she realized it was Mr. Grant. She froze, her fingers hovering above the screen. 1,000 thoughts rushed through her mind. What would he say? Would he reprimand her? Ignore her? Or, no, surely not. Would he somehow help? The message appeared. Doctor's coming. Don't worry, your little one will be okay. Lena stared, blinking rapidly. Her mind couldn't process the words at first. Did he mean it? Was this a joke? How why? The disbelief made her hands tremble, and she gripped Sammy a little tighter. She reread the message. There was again, simple, direct, compassionate. No scolding, no judgment, just a promise of help. Tears pricked her eyes. Relief clashed with lingering panic. Could this really be happening? Could a man she had always seen as intimidating and unapproachable actually care about her child's well-being? It seemed impossible, yet here it was, plain as day. Before she could respond, another message appeared. No need to reply. Just take care of your baby. Help is on the way. Her chest tightened with emotion. She wanted to scream with relief, to cry with gratitude. Instead, she clutched Sammy close, whispering, "It's going to be okay, my love. Someone's helping us." His little hand tapped her chest, and she felt a spark of hope flicker inside her exhausted heart. Minutes later, the doorbell rang. Lena jumped, startled, then carefully carried Sammy to the door. A nurse stood there, professional yet warm, carrying a small medical kit and a paper bag. "Hi, I'm Nurse Elena. I'm here for Sammy. Your boss arranged for me to bring his prescription and check on him," the nurse said gently. Lena's voice caught in her throat. I don't know what to say. Thank you. Just let's get your little one feeling better," Nurse Elena said, stepping inside. Inside, Lena's apartment suddenly felt brighter. She helped the nurse settle Sammy on the couch, tucking the blanket carefully around him. The nurse's calm, gentle movements, her quiet professionalism, reassured Lena in a way she hadn't felt in days. She watched as Nurse Elena measured Sammy's temperature, checked his vitals, and carefully explained how to administer the medication. As the nurse worked, Lena felt an overwhelming mix of emotions: relief, disbelief, and gratitude. She thought again of Mr. Grant, arranging this care amidst his busy schedule, going out his way for someone he barely knew. It was a gesture of kindness so unexpected that she could hardly comprehend it. Once the medicine was administered and Sammy settled for a brief nap, Lena sank onto the couch, holding him close. Tears streamed freely now, not from panic or fear, but from profound gratitude. For the first time that day, she allowed herself to breathe fully, to feel that maybe everything would be okay. For a brief moment, all her worries about deadlines, work emails, and exhaustion faded. In their place was a simple, powerful realization. Kindness existed, even in the most unexpected people, and could arrive in the midst of life's chaos when you needed it most. Lena's heart was still racing when the doorbell rang. She clutched Sammy close, his tiny body warm against hers, and hesitated for a moment before slowly opening the door. Standing there was a young woman in a crisp, professional uniform, her expression kind and gentle. In her hands was a small medical kit and a neatly folded paper bag. "Hi," the woman said softly. "I'm Nurse Elena. I'm here for Sammy. Your boss arranged for me to bring his prescription and check on him." Lena's breath caught in her throat. For a split second, she couldn't speak. She stared at the nurse, then at Sammy, then back at the nurse again, feeling a wave of disbelief wash over her. Her mind raced. He actually did this? My boss, the CEO, sent a doctor for my baby? I don't know what to say, Lena stammered, her voice trembling. "Thank you. Really, thank you. Don't worry about that," Nurse Elena replied with a warm smile. "Let's focus on your little one. He needs care first." Inside, Lena's apartment suddenly felt lighter, brighter, as if the sun had broken through a long, stormy night. She helped the nurse settle Sammy on the couch, tucking him gently in a soft blanket. His eyelids fluttered sleepily, and he whimpered, reaching out for his mother. Lena held him close, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and overwhelming relief. Nurse Elena opened the bag and carefully prepared the medication. She spoke in a calm, soothing voice as she explained the proper dosage and how to give it to Sammy. Lena hung on to every word, tried to absorb the instructions while her eyes never left her baby. "His temperature is slightly high, but not dangerous," the nurse said, checking Sammy's tiny wrist for his pulse. "The medication should help bring it down within a few hours. Just keep an eye on him, and if anything changes, call me immediately." Lena nodded, her throat tight with emotion. Thank you so much," she whispered again, feeling tears prick the corners of her eyes. I didn't think." She stopped, unable to finish the sentence. The words felt inadequate. Nurse Elena smiled, understanding. "It's okay. Sometimes people go out of their way to help, without expecting anything in return. Your boss, he cares. You're lucky to have someone like him looking out for you." Lena held Sammy closer, his small hand brushing against her chest, and marveled at the kindness she was witnessing. She thought again of Mr. Grant, imagining him in his office, making arrangements, ensuring that even in the middle of his busy schedule, her baby's health came first. Her respect for him shifted subtly, from the stern, professional man she knew at the office to someone with unexpected humanity and warmth. As Nurse Elena administered the medicine, Lena whispered soothingly to Sammy, brushing his hair back from his forehead. "It's okay, my love. You're going to feel better soon." Sammy's eyes slowly closed, his body finally relaxing against hers. The nurse packed up her kit, giving Lena a final reassuring look. "Call me if anything changes. He'll be fine." Once the door closed, Lena sank onto the couch, still holding Sammy close. Her body finally allowed itself to release the tension it had been holding for hours. Tears streamed down her cheeks, this time not from fear or exhaustion, but from gratitude and relief. She marveled how something so small, a single act of kindness from someone she had always viewed as untouchable, could change the course of her day, perhaps even her life. In that moment, she realized that help could come from the most unexpected places, that humanity existed even in the busiest of people, and that sometimes all it took was a small act to restore hope. For the first time in days, Lena allowed herself to believe that everything might be okay. The exhaustion was still there, but it was softened, almost washed away, by the warmth of compassion she had witnessed. She looked down at Sammy, his breathing now steady, his tiny chest rising and falling evenly. A weak smile tugged at her lips. "We're going to be okay, my love," she whispered. "Someone's watching out for us." And in that quiet apartment, filled with the soft hum of life, Lena felt a flicker of hope she hadn't felt in weeks. The world suddenly seemed a little less frightening, a little more kind, and a little more full of possibilities. While Lena attended to Sammy, Mr. Grant sat in his sleek office on the top floor of the city's tallest building. His fingers drummed lightly against the polished mahogany desk as he reviewed reports and emails, yet his mind was elsewhere, focused entirely on the single mother who worked for his company. Most people knew Mr. Grant as a sharp, disciplined CEO, a man who rarely showed emotion beyond polite smiles in boardrooms. He was efficient, calculating, respected, and, to many employees, distant. But those who had glimpsed his softer side understood that his mind wasn't limited to numbers and deadlines. He had a heart capable of empathy and a strong sense of responsibility toward the people who worked under him. When he received Lena's mistaken email, something clicked. At first, he considered ignoring it, reasoning that it wasn't his problem, that employees' personal matters were private. But he couldn't shake the image of a tiny baby, sick and in need of medicine, and a young mother struggling to keep it together. His decision was immediate and unwavering. He had to help. He quickly coordinated with a nurse he trusted, explaining the urgency. "This is a priority," he said firmly. "It's not just about the work. She's a single mother, and her baby needs help. Get someone to her apartment immediately." His assistant raised an eyebrow, surprised by the personal nature of the request. "Are you sure, sir? It's—" "Yes," Mr. Grant interrupted, his tone leaving no room for argument. "I'll handle the optics if anyone questions it. Right now, a baby's health is more important than office protocol." As he arranged the details, Mr. Grant's mind drifted to Lena. He'd seen her at the office countless times, quiet, diligent, always putting her all into her work despite personal challenges. Her professionalism had earned him respect. But now, seeing her in a vulnerable moment, he felt a profound urge to support her as a human being, not just as an employee. By the time Nurse Elena had departed for Lena's apartment, Mr. Grant had already checked in with his assistant twice, ensuring everything was proceeding smoothly. Yet, despite his busy schedule and a looming pile of meetings, he allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. Sometimes, he thought, people need more than deadlines and memos. They need compassion, care, and understanding. And if I can help, even in a small way, I should. Meanwhile, back at Lena's apartment, she watched Sammy's breathing slow and steadier with each passing minute. She marveled at the unexpected kindness she was witnessing and tried to piece together how it had all come to be. Her exhaustion and panic from earlier that morning had melted into quiet gratitude. She never imagined that her boss, a man whose world seemed entirely occupied with profit and power, would show such personal care. As she tidied up the living room after Nurse Elena left, Lena's thoughts returned to Mr. Grant. She realized that her perception of him had shifted completely. He wasn't just a CEO who enforced rules and deadlines. He was a man capable of empathy, capable of seeing beyond his office walls and understanding the struggles of those who worked for him. Her heart softened, not just because of the help he had provided, but because of what it represented, that human decency and kindness could exist even in the busiest, most high-powered people. Her respect for him deepened, mingled now with gratitude and a sense of awe. For Mr. Grant, the day continued as usual in the office. Meetings came and went, deals were signed, and decisions were made. Yet for him, the success of the day wasn't measured in profits or contracts. It was measured in the small victory of helping a mother and her child find relief, if only for a few hours. Later that evening, he sent a brief, understated message to Lena. "How is he now? I hope he's resting comfortably." Lena, overwhelmed by emotion, simply replied, "Better, thanks to you. Thank you for everything." It was a small exchange, but it spoke volumes. It bridged the gap between CEO and employee, transforming a professional relationship into something more profound, mutual respect and recognition of shared humanity. That evening, Lena watched Sammy drift into a peaceful sleep, his tiny face relaxed for the first time in days. She held him close, feeling a warmth spread through her chest that had nothing to do with physical closeness and everything to do with gratitude. She realized that sometimes kindness arrives unexpectedly, in small acts from people we least expect, and sometimes it restores hope in ways that nothing else can. Across the city, Mr. Grant leaned back in his office chair, rubbing his temples. His day had been long and taxing, but as he thought of Lena and her baby, he allowed himself a rare smile. The world, he mused, might be harsh and demanding, but humanity, small, deliberate acts of care, could make it a little brighter for someone. And that, he thought, was worth everything. The next morning, Lena woke to a quiet apartment. Sunlight streamed softly through the curtains, illuminating Sammy's small, peaceful face. His fever had broken during the night, and he was now sleeping comfortably, the medication administered by Nurse Elena having done its work. For the first time in days, Lena felt a sense of calm settle over her. She sat on the edge of the couch, brushing a stray lock of hair from Sammy's forehead, and allowed herself to reflect on the whirlwind of the previous day. From panic and exhaustion to disbelief and relief, it had been an emotional roller coaster. And yet, through it all, she had discovered something she hadn't expected: human kindness. Her mind returned again to Mr. Grant. The CEO she had always viewed as distant and intimidating had shown her compassion beyond measure. He had acted quickly, arranging care for her child without hesitation, without judgment. The simple act had shifted something inside her, an understanding that there were people capable of empathy, even in a world that often felt cold and impersonal. Sammy stirred and opened his eyes, blinking sleepily. Lena smiled, feeling a warmth that radiated from her chest. "Good morning, my love," she whispered softly. "Feeling better?" Sammy cooed, reaching out for her hand. She grasped it gently, holding it tightly, marveling at the resilience and trust of her little boy. His tiny hand wrapped around hers, and she felt renewed determination to face her own challenges with the same courage and strength he displayed so naturally. The events of the previous day had taught her a powerful lesson: that asking for help, or even receiving it by chance, was not a sign of weakness. It was a reminder that even when life feels overwhelming, there are people who can offer support, often in ways we never imagine. Lena brewed a fresh cup of coffee, the aroma filling the small kitchen, and sat down with her laptop. Work was waiting, of course. Deadlines still loomed, and emails still needed replies. But now, she approached her responsibilities with a new perspective. The panic that once consumed her in moments of crisis had softened. She understood that she didn't have to carry every burden alone. Throughout the morning, she checked in on Sammy as he played quietly with his small toys. His laughter, a light and melodic sound, filled the apartment and brought a smile to her face. She reflected on how, in just 24 hours, her world had shifted from near despair to hope. It was a testament to the power of compassion, the simple kindness of someone willing to step outside their role and make a difference. Later that day, she received a brief message from Mr. Grant. "I hope he's resting comfortably. Let me know if you need anything else." Lena paused before replying, overwhelmed by gratitude. Words seemed inadequate, but she typed carefully, "He's resting and doing much better. Thank you again for everything. Your kindness meant more than I can express." She hit send and leaned back, letting herself breathe. It was a small gesture, an exchange of messages, yet it carried immense emotional weight. She realized that sometimes acts of kindness were not about grand gestures or dramatic moments. They were about thoughtful, deliberate actions that touched lives in meaningful ways. Over the next few days, Lena noticed a subtle shift in her own outlook. She approached challenges with more patience, more empathy, and a stronger sense of resilience. The fear that had dominated her life, fear of failure, of judgment, of being overwhelmed, began to dissipate. She knew she would still face difficulties, but she also knew she had the strength to handle them, and that she was not alone in the world. Sammy continued to recover, his small body regaining strength and vitality. Lena cherished every giggle, every small milestone, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for the simple joys of motherhood. She made a promise to herself to recognize kindness wherever she found it, to extend it whenever possible, and to never underestimate the power of caring for others. As the evening approached, Lena sat with Sammy in her lap, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. The quiet moments felt precious, filled with reflection and understanding. She thought about how fragile life could be, yet how resilient the human heart was when supported by love and compassion. For Lena, the accidental email had become a turning point. It had reminded her that vulnerability could lead to connection, that asking for help, or even receiving it by accident, was not a weakness, and that true strength often came from the courage to accept care when it was offered. She looked down at Sammy, his tiny hand reaching for hers once more. "We made it through, little one," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion, "and we'll keep moving forward together." That night, as she tucked Sammy into bed and watched him drift into a peaceful sleep, Lena felt a profound sense of hope. The world was unpredictable and often challenging, but in the midst of chaos, kindness had appeared when she needed it most. And that, she realized, was the most powerful gift of all. A week had passed since the day Nurse Elena had visited Lena's apartment. Sammy was back to his usual playful self, chasing small toys around the living room, giggling and babbling with delight. Lena watched him with a mixture of relief and amazement. It felt like the weight of the past week, the sleepless nights, the panic, the constant worry, was finally lifting. Yet there was still one thought she couldn't shake: Mr. Grant. His unexpected kindness had left a lasting impression, not just on her, but on how she viewed the world and the people in it. What started as fear and embarrassment had grown into gratitude and respect. And now, an almost curious desire to understand the man behind the stern office persona. When a message arrived that afternoon, Lena's heart skipped a beat. "If you're comfortable, I'd like to meet you." Nothing formal, just a brief conversation. "I'd like to check in personally." Her hands trembled slightly as she typed a reply, her mind racing. Meet him? In person? After a moment, she hit send, a mixture of nerves and anticipation swirling within her. The meeting was scheduled for a quiet cafe, chosen by Mr. Grant to ensure a calm and private environment. Lena arrived first, fidgeting with her bag, tried to calm her nerves. She felt self-conscious, wondering if she should apologize again, explain herself, or simply express her gratitude in words that somehow seemed too small for the moment. Moments later, Mr. Grant arrived, his presence immediately calming. He wore a casual jacket over a crisp shirt, a rare departure from his usual suit and tie. His expression was approachable, with a gentle smile that contrasted sharply with the stern demeanor she remembered from the office. "Lena," he said warmly as he approached, "thank you for meeting me." "Of course," Lena replied, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. I appreciate you taking the time." They sat down, and for a moment there was a quiet pause, a shared understanding passing between them. Words were unnecessary. Both had witnessed the vulnerability and the kindness that had brought them here. "I wanted to meet you in person," Mr. Grant began, his tone sincere, "because I felt it was important to see how Sammy was doing. It's rare in my world to step outside the office, but your situation mattered to me." Lena's eyes softened, and she nodded. "I honestly didn't expect anything from you. I was terrified when I realized I'd sent the prescription to the wrong email. I thought I'd embarrass myself beyond repair." He shook his head. "No, there was never any judgment. I understand how overwhelming life can be, especially as a single parent. I just want to make sure help was there when it mattered most." For the first time, Lena felt a profound connection to someone who had previously seemed untouchable. This was not the CEO who signed contracts and directed meetings. This was a human being who had acted out of empathy, who had recognized someone's struggle and responded with care. They talked quietly about Sammy, about work, about life in general. Mr. Grant shared small insights about balancing responsibilities, about understanding that everyone had challenges unseen beneath the surface. Lena shared her experiences as a single mother, the delicate balancing act of work and home, and the exhaustion that sometimes felt unbearable. As they spoke, Lena realized something remarkable. This encounter was more than a meeting. It was a mutual acknowledgement of humanity, a reminder that the professional and personal could coexist when approached with compassion. She felt seen in a way that few others had ever managed, respected not just for her work but for her perseverance, her love for her child, and her determination to keep moving forward despite difficulties. Before leaving, Mr. Grant leaned slightly forward and said softly, "I know this was unexpected, but I hope you understand that the world can be kinder than we often believe. Sometimes we just need to notice it, and sometimes it's about paying it forward." Lena smiled, feeling tears prick at the corners of her eyes. "I will never forget what you did, not just for Sammy, but for me. It reminded me that kindness exists even when life feels overwhelming. He nodded, giving a final smile. Take care, Lena. And remember, you're stronger than you think. Walking out of the cafe, Lena felt lighter, her heart full. She glanced down at Sammy, who was safely in his stroller, and realized that the world, with all its challenges and pressures, could still hold moments of extraordinary humanity. The accidental email, the nurse, and Mr. Grant's unexpected concern had transformed her perspective. She understood now that connection, empathy, and compassion were forces capable of creating hope in even the most exhausting and stressful situations. That evening, back at home, Lena tucked Sammy into bed, gently brushing his hair from his forehead. "We're going to be okay, little one," she whispered, her voice firm yet tender. "We're stronger than we know. And sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places." As she watched him drift into peaceful sleep, Lena felt a renewed sense of purpose. She was no longer just surviving the chaos of her life. She was learning to embrace it, to recognize the small miracles of kindness and empathy, and to carry them forward in her own actions. For Lena, the world had shifted in subtle yet profound ways. The accidental email, once a source of panic and embarrassment, had become a catalyst for understanding, growth, and connection. And in that quiet apartment, filled with the soft hum of a sleeping child, Lena felt a sense of hope that would linger long after the memory of fear had faded. After the meeting with Mr. Grant, Lena felt a quiet shift within herself. The experience of vulnerability, fear, and an unexpected support had left a lasting imprint on her heart. She spent the next few days reflecting on everything that had happened, the lessons learned, and the newfound appreciation for the kindness that had touched her life. Sammy was thriving. His laughter filled the apartment, a melody of pure joy that Lena cherished more than anything else in the world. Watching him play, she realized that life was a series of unpredictable moments, some challenging, some beautiful, some terrifying, but the way we respond could shape everything. The accidental email, once a source of panic, had opened the door to compassion and human connection. It had reminded her that no one is truly alone, even in moments that feel overwhelming. She thought about the small but profound ways people could impact each other's lives. A message, a gesture, a few minutes of attention. These were not grandiose acts, but they carried power beyond measure. Mr. Grant's response had been simple, yet it had changed the course of her day, perhaps even her outlook on life. It made her realize that sometimes being kind and noticing the struggles of others could create ripples that reached further than expected. As a mother, Lena understood that resilience was not just about enduring hardships. It was about recognizing when help could make a difference, accepting it with humility, and carrying the lesson forward. She resolved to practice this herself, to notice the small struggles around her, and to offer compassion whenever possible. The experience had taught her that vulnerability was not weakness, but a bridge to empathy and connection. She also reflected on her perception of people, particularly those in positions of authority. Before the incident, she had seen Mr. Grant as distant, unreachable, and solely focused on business. Now she understood that beneath the polished exterior, people had depth, compassion, and humanity. It was a reminder that first impressions, office personas, and social hierarchies did not define a person entirely. Sometimes, true character was revealed in moments of unexpected kindness. Lena began journaling her thoughts, capturing not just the events, but the emotions, lessons, and gratitude she felt. Writing helped her process everything, transforming the fear and exhaustion of the past week into clarity and understanding. Each sentence was a small acknowledgement of the strength she carried, the support she had received, and the compassion that existed in the world. She realized that her journey as a mother, a professional, and a human being was enriched by these lessons. Life would continue to present challenges, but now she approached them with a renewed sense of hope and perspective. She understood that while she might not control every circumstance, she could control how she responded, with patience, courage, and an open heart. In the evenings, as she watched Sammy drift off to sleep, Lena often reflected on the chain of events that had led her here. What could have been a source of embarrassment and fear had become a catalyst for growth and understanding. She thought of the nurse who had arrived at her apartment, the quiet professionalism and reassurance that had steadied her heart, and of Mr. Grant, whose compassion had left an indelible mark. The experience reminded her that kindness was not always obvious or expected. Sometimes it appeared in small, quiet ways, often when we least anticipate it. Yet, these moments could have profound effects, shaping not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us. Most importantly, Lena realized that life was not about perfection or control. It was about connection. The accidental email, the nurse, the messages, and the meeting had all converged to teach her that people mattered, that empathy mattered, and that even the smallest act of care could change the trajectory of a day, a life, or a heart. By the end of the week, Lena felt transformed. She approached her work with renewed focus, but with a lighter heart. She approached motherhood with more patience, more presence, and a deeper understanding of the fragility and resilience of life. And she approached the world with a sense of hope that had been dormant for too long. She had learned that human kindness was powerful, that it could arrive unexpectedly, and that it could restore faith in moments when the world felt overwhelming. And she promised herself, silently but firmly, that she would carry this lesson forward in everything she did. For Lena, the past week had been a reminder that life, with all its unpredictability, could also hold profound beauty. The courage to be vulnerable, the willingness to accept help, and the power of empathy were treasures she would never forget. Weeks had passed since that unforgettable day. Sammy was fully recovered, his laughter and playful energy filling Lena's apartment with life and joy. The shadow of panic and fear that hung over her during his illness had faded, replaced by gratitude, hope, and a renewed sense of strength. Lena watched him build towers from colorful blocks on the living room floor, occasionally toppling them herself, earning delighted squeals and a gleeful, victorious grin from her little boy. The simple joys of motherhood, his laughter, his tiny hand clutching hers, the warmth of his hugs, felt even more precious after the turbulence of those days. She thought back to the accidental email that had started it all. What could have been a source of embarrassment and stress had transformed into something extraordinary. She had received help when she needed it most, not just in the form of medicine, but through compassion, empathy, and genuine human care. That act of kindness had not only healed her child, but it also restored her faith in the goodness of people. A quiet ping from her phone reminded her of the message she had received weeks ago from Mr. Grant. She smiled as she read again. Checking in. Hope all is well. Remember, kindness has a ripple effect. Lena felt a deep sense of warmth. She typed a quick reply. Thank you. All is well. Sammy is thriving. Your kindness will not be forgotten. The words felt inadequate to capture the depth of her gratitude, but they were heartfelt. More than anything, she wanted to honor the lesson she had learned, that even small acts of compassion could create lasting impacts. Later that evening, Lena tucked Sammy into bed, smoothing the blanket around him and brushing his hair gently from his forehead. He yawned, snuggling into her arms, his tiny body warm and relaxed. Good night, my love, she whispered. We're okay now, thanks to all the help we received. We're stronger than ever. She lingered by his crib, watching him drift into peaceful sleep. In the quiet, she reflected on the lessons of the past weeks. The courage to be vulnerable, the power of empathy, and the unexpected ways kindness could appear. She felt a profound sense of responsibility to carry that kindness forward in her own life, to help others when she could, and to recognize the small miracles in everyday life. Outside, the city buzzed with its usual chaos, unaware of the quiet, transformative events in a small apartment above the streets. But for Lena, the world had changed in subtle yet powerful ways. She had experienced fear, relief, gratitude, and connection, all in a single week. And she knew that these moments, seemingly small and fleeting, would remain with her forever. Lena kissed Sammy's forehead one last time and whispered, We'll face life together, little one, and we'll never forget the kindness that changed our world. As she turned off the lights and closed the door quietly, she felt her heart full, her mind clear, and her soul uplifted. The accidental email, the nurse's visit, and Mr. Grant's compassion had left an indelible mark on her life. In the end, it was a reminder that hope could arrive unexpectedly, that humanity could be found in the most surprising people, and that even in the most exhausting, challenging moments, a single act of kindness could illuminate an entire life. Lena smiled, taking a deep breath. She was ready for whatever life would bring next, strengthened by love, gratitude, and the enduring power of compassion. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and share it with someone who could use a little kindness today. Subscribe to Kindness Diaries USA for more real-life, heartwarming stories that remind us how small acts of love and compassion can change lives. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a story that inspires hope, gratitude, and the beauty of humanity. Remember, even the smallest act of kindness can create ripples that last a lifetime.